We going on live now. Good evening and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't African, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the people who call themselves African American didn't find their way to America locked in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, Buck Wylam, and tonight we're going to look at a ancestor, uh, someone who is has very high esteem for the black community when he was alive. And tonight we're going to share some of his writings and some of his thoughts and ideas with you. Today we're going to look into the life of Dr. Bobby E. Wright. You are in for a treat. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Rick Moon. Rick, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good, Buck. To all the people out there listening tonight, yeah, you're going to get a treat tonight. This is going to be a fabulous show. So get ready and hold tight.
Uh, Before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to all the phone calls and emails I've been getting. Thank you guys very much, and thank you for your kind words. I'm happy I could be of help to all, but what we all must do is we must constantly shine ourselves up to make ourselves better. And that's what we're trying to do here at African Americans Ain't African. So, I don't watch the news much because, when you cut on the TV and watch the news, there's always some negative things going on. And especially when you hear about Chicago. And every time I hear about Chicago, you always hear something tragic going on. I think the last time I was talking to somebody, they told me that 23 people got shot over the weekend in Chicago. Those type stories have become so commonplace, I don't even watch TV or watch the news or anything. But somebody told me that story about the people in Chicago being shot. But every time I hear about Chicago, I think of Dr. Bobby E. Wright. Now, Bobby E. Wright is not talked about a lot in the history in the African American community. He's obscure. Matter of fact, he was becoming obscure when he was alive because of the ideas that he had. And tonight, we're going to be sharing some of them ideas with you. You are going to hear some of the brilliance of your forefathers. So sit back, relax. We're about to get into Dr. Bobby Wright. The next time you're in Chicago, on the west side, stop and visit the Bobby E. Wright Center and make a donation. Bobby Wright has a comprehensive behavioral center and a treatment center that focuses on the mental health and emotional health of the African American community. They also provide substance abuse services by providing substance abuse treatment. Rick, what do you know about Dr. Bobby Wright? Have you ever heard about him?
Yes, I have. I have one of his Mentacide CD, and as a matter of fact, I was just listening to his Man in the Mission CD tape just earlier tonight. So, yeah, I have a pretty good understanding of Dr. Wright, and that's why I'm excited about this conversation we're going to have about him tonight.
Tonight we're going to focus on some of Dr. Bobby Wright's ideas when it comes to mental health in the so-called African American community. We'll also listen to some excerpts from his Brown Great Breaking. I mean, when you hear the first 10 minutes of this, we're going to play the first 10 minutes tonight. When you hear this, it's going to change you. So a little bit about Dr. Bobby Wright. Bobby Wright was born in Hobson City, Alabama on March 4th, 1913. There's not really a lot written about his childhood, but he went on to become one of the best and most revolutionary thinkers the world has ever seen. Bobby Wright was born in Hobson City, Alabama. Now, one of the things that people, when you talk about the Deep South, especially Alabama, Mississippi, People in the cities, when they talk about these places, they talk about them with disdain. Even in all the media, when you talk about the South, they're talked about. Not a lot of love is coming from here. The Black Panther Party started in Alabama. Dr. Bobby Wright was born in Alabama. So down here in the South, where most of our parents, most of our forefathers come from, you got some people who were thinking about the problems that this brother, when you're going to hear him tonight, he forewarned what was going to happen 40 something years ago. So this is why this is going to be a treat. Like I said, not much is known about his childhood, but when you listen to this brother speaks, when you feel what this brother says, it's going to move you to tears. So, without any further ado, we're going to get into Dr. Bobby Wright, and this is called Mentacide. And now we only going to just play about 10 minutes because it's the whole thing is about an hour, and we're going to come back and just point out some of the points that he made and talk about that. So here's Dr. Bobby Wright in Mentacide.
Habari Gani, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It was a great deal of feeling that I'd be here tonight in Seattle. In spite of all the jokes I make about it, I have a long history with some of the people here in Seattle. For a long time, Zakia here, I remember Zakia as a very young person, a very young student, who came into our independent school in the 1960s. And out of that school, we lost 17 students who were her classmates, 17 young black brothers who were students of mine, Fred Hampton probably being the most famous one. So I stand in blood before you, and I take that very seriously. I'm a very feeling person. I have a very great deal of love for black people because unlike most blacks who you read about and hear about, I've never experienced all those negative things from black people. I've been extremely well loved throughout my life. I've never had all the things that happened to me that have happened to, that I read about happening to other black people. And so I've dedicated my life to just one objective, and that is to assist in the liberation of the minds of black people and therefore the liberation being of their body. That is my sole reason for being. And it is the only reason, of course, that I would appear before you tonight. And I would hope that we would have a chance to really understand one another. Most certainly I would say things that will alienate some of you because of your personal lifestyle. That is not my intent. I have no fight with black people. I never in my life have used words like Tom. I never in my life have used words like nigger. I'm not that type of person. I have one enemy, and that enemy is the white race. No other enemies do I have. And therefore I'm at total war with that enemy. The enemy who has for 362 years waged unrelenting war against my people. And I have no time to have internal conflict. I do take issue with brothers because of their political position, but it's not personal. It's a political position. And so with that being a background, I'd like to say to you that the most important thing that has happened to me was left out of the introduction inadvertently. And that was the fact that I grew up. I was born and raised in an all-black town in Alabama. For the first 17 years of my life, I had all-black teachers, all-black role models, black people who loved me, who protected me, who raised me, who fed me, who nurtured me, and also who educated me. And I would like to say, as I say all the time, that there's a difference between education and training, and therefore the difference between education and training, I'm fortunate because I was educated by black people, and I was trained at the University of Chicago. Unfortunately, black people, as part of the no-style process, black people are more impressed with the fact that I was trained at the University of Chicago than the fact that I was educated by black people in Alabama. And with that, I'm going to take a sort of different tag with Mentacide tonight because, and I'm going to lay it in some ways that all of us can sort of understand, and although we may lack, this will be published in about 3 weeks. In about 3 weeks, Third World Press will publish what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. And I'm just going to introduce it, and you'll have to get the publications from Third World Press, and it will be out here. I would also like to say to Karumo and all the other brothers and sisters who I worked with over the years that I really appreciate being here and being loved so by them. I mean, there have been many times I've been places which my weapon was not as good as it was tonight. And in fact, there was a time when I had to almost run out of the place. They were always stood tall and stood behind me. Tonight I'm going to talk about Mentacide. And I'll start by telling you one of the problems in talking about a theory. One of the most difficult tasks of a black scholar, one of the most difficult tasks of a black person who thinks, is to be able to analyze the influence of racism or racist on black behavior and attitude, be able to do that analyzation, and at the same time escape the almost irresistible Western scholarship protected barrier. Western scholarship in the Western world, that is their protection. They have a barrier, and they call it scholarship. And it protects them so well that even when you begin to study racism, you end back up studying the victim, doing an analysis of their victim. That's what is happening. So there's no question that this analysis of the victim methodology has been a major scientific development of white sciences because it effectively leads away from the cause of our condition, which is white pathology. It leads you away from that once you get into it because the way the scholarship is set up. One of the results there is that the position is usually taken that one should not even imply to the black masses our truly weak position for fear of immobilizing them. In other words, you shouldn't talk about all the conditions of blacks because you immobilize them, which are a condition which already exists. While others take the position that whites have power over blacks all. Now this is due to the all-powerful but non-existent white concept of free will. Free will, which has us in all sort of trouble. All sort of trouble, this idea that you got free will. Namely that people always have choices, and you have choices since you have free will. Therefore, you can be held responsible for your behavior. And that free will, of course, as I spoke to last night, that free will, what it leads to then, it leads to a great deal of negative behavior, and it leads to rugged individualism. Therefore, to give you a type of analogy, and I'm not trying to be humorous. I know many things I say are humorous, but I like to use analogies as African people have done throughout history. Is that the analogy I have is that whites have fighting over deck chairs on the Titanic. Got us fighting over deck chairs on the Titanic while they have taken the lifeboats and gone. And some brothers and sisters want to argue on what class we're in. What class we're in. So we had a brother like Brother Wilson back at the University of Chicago, who was the head of the sociology department, as I said last night, who wrote this book, The Decline and Significance of Race. Race is declining in significance, now it's class and economics. And of course, the mere fact that the brother is married to a white girl means that race declines every night in significance, especially when they go to bed. Now, I don't want you to misunderstand me. I'm very aware of what happens when you expose the human personality to dangerous stimuli. I'm a very serious behavior scientist. I'm very aware of that. However, there comes a time when the risk of exposure is insignificant when compared to the alternative. And to paraphrase a type of mental health truth, which is a mental health truth, the greatest pathology in the world, the greatest sickness in the world, is for people to believe in something just because they wish it to be so. That's the greatest pathology you can have. For you to believe in something just because you wish it to be so. And that's what most of us are. For example, you take suicide. Suicide. Let's deal with that for a minute because that's what the publication will be about. And I want to use that just to deliver this. In the not too distant past, suicide in the black community was virtually non-existent. In fact, when our comedians were really comedians, they used to joke about it. How can a black commit suicide jumping out of a basement window? Things like that, and so, the fact that the black committed suicide by attacking the policeman's club with his head. Things like that, somebody in my town where I grew up, if somebody talk about somebody kill himself, everybody be looking for who killed him. But there's a further understanding if you begin to do this analysis. One of the things I have to say right away, and then maybe this will give you some understanding of where I'm coming from. The most serious mistake you can make, along with that greatest pathology, the most serious mistake you can make is to try to use white definitions to try to define and understand black phenomena, black behavior. The most serious thing, to use white definitions. He who defines rules. If you accept my definition of the world, I will rule you. And so you see, look here, we're in this science lab. No question about it. Look here. See, since I've been in school, they don't even add more stuff to that table. The table wasn't bad enough, hard enough as it is. Now they had something else they're talking about. Now, what they tell you, oh no, Dr. Wright, this is objective. This is objective. This is science. This is science. You know what science is? A group of white men and women getting in a room and say, this is the way the world is. If you disagree with us, we'll kill you or we'll flunk you. That's simple. That's simple. So this is no more objective than anything else in the world. This table up here is some science, and white people gotten together and said, this is science. Here's the definition of this, here's the definition of that, here's that. And let me tell you about definitions. They do not have to correspond to any reality, as long as they are useful in understanding some phenomenon. That's the whole thing about science. Science does not have to deal with reality. Does not have to deal with a reality. Astronomy cannot prove anything. No one's been out there and touched a star. No one can, but they can infer. And then once you accept that definition, then you have a science called astronomy. Brothers and sisters got astrology. What sign are you? I knew that was some reason we couldn't get along. They dropped that one on us. Astrology. What sign are you? And I had some students in the free school once to do a research. I want you all to get on the air, which is the subway. And I want you all to get on the air. And I want you all to...
Dr. Bobby Wright, Mentacide. The whole lecture that he gives is about an hour and 10 minutes long. It's a must. You must hear it. Send us a donation at AfricanAmericans.org, and we'll send you the CD. Excellent piece of history you have to have in our history. What do you think about that, Rick?
I thought that was very good. The part that really struck my eye was at the beginning when he said that the reason that we are I'm sorry, Buck. I just lost my train of thought.
You want to get it back? Well, one of the things that he said that I thought was off the hook is he said that he was Fred Hampton's chairman of the Black Panther Party at 19. He was one of his early teachers, and that a lot of Fred Hampton and their compatriots were killed. So if you're familiar with Fred Hampton, and Fred Hampton's another brother we're going to be doing some history on because he was a phenomenal guy at 19. And what this brother was teaching his students, and as you get deeper into the lecture, you'll see this brother wasn't no joke. But we're going to talk about his groundbreaking smash called Mentacide. And Bobby Wright's definition of Mentacide was destroying the mind of a person of a group with the ultimate goal of destroying that person or group. Destroying a group or a person's mind, but the end game is to kill off that group. And I wanted to bring this up because when I first heard Bobby Wright, maybe about 25 years ago, what he said, it wasn't like it is now, as you can very well tell. As time goes on, things change. But what he was saying, and we'll talk about that tonight, what he was saying is right on the money. He predicted what was going to happen if certain criteria were met, if the so-called African American community did certain things. He predicted that these things would happen. And so we're going to take a look at some of those things tonight. And then if anybody have any questions or call or have anything about Bobby Wright, what he brought to them, please give us a call at 256-849-2227. And let's talk about it, because this is one of the brothers. This cat, every school that we have in America that our children go should have a model for thinking in that school. I did a video.
Also, Brooke, I got my thought back. The part that I thought was very significant at the beginning of the part that you played was when he said that he was educated in Alabama and he was trained at the University of Chicago. I thought that was very significant of him saying that, because that lets you know that who your education should be coming from. And our people today, we haven't gotten that yet. We still depend on other people to educate us.
Thank you for that, buddy. In.
Oh, sorry about that.
So I think, well, as you'll see with with some of Dr. Wright's ideas, they could be very helpful to the community today. So what we heard from the tape, this is what I got from it. And like I said, if you have any questions, you have anything you want to add. As a matter of fact, we have a few callers on the line. Any of the callers have anything they want to add about what they heard of Dr. Bobby Wright?
Yeah, hi, this is Dee in South Florida. The thing that I picked up on very easily was the difference between free will and what some folks deem as being liberated.
What do you mean?
Well, I talked to several people, and specifically this sister. When I asked her, does she feel like she's a slave? She says, no, I don't feel like I'm a slave. I'm not a slave. I have my own mind. I could do what I want. I own my own house, my own car. And she went to name all these things that she owned and all the places that she could go because she has free will. So in thinking that way, she feels like she's free. She's liberated.
Wow.
So I thought that, yeah.
Wow, I never even looked at it like that. So just because she can do whatever she wants, she's free. And bringing that, what Dr. Bobby Wright was saying, he was like that free will leads to negative behavior and rugged individualism. So
exactly,
is that a part of the problem too? When a person who thinks that they're free, I can do whatever I want. I don't have to listen to nobody else. I don't have to work with other people. I can do me. So that's what free will leads to.
False perception of liberation. Yes.
Wow. Any other callers on the line have anything else? Thank you, Dee from South Florida. I never even looked at it like that, but you think you're free because you can do. And Dee, what do you think about what you're free to do? What do you think that is controlled by others too? Because we say we have the freedom to do this and we have the freedom to do that, but we never have the freedom to do what needs to be done or what's necessary to get the job done.
Well, if we look at our society and the things that that we're taught or trained, the free will that we have, the choices are the choices that are provided for us. So you get to pick from A, B, C, and D.
Right.
So X, Y, Z is not offered. You only get to pick from whatever is out there that they want you to pick from.
And D, what about the group? Isn't it incumbent upon the group to, if they give you A, B, and C, can't we come with la 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 la, come up with and come up with something ourselves that'll sustain us?
Absolutely, and that's what's missing, and that's why I come to this show, because that's what I'm looking for. Is that collective mentality and that thought process to be able to say, hey, why don't we create some la 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 la?
Right. Some mumble jumbo, as Dr. Mumble Jumbo would say. We have a few more callers on the line. Did anybody else have anything they want to add?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to say, this is Tony from Wisconsin, about the education and the, what did you say, education and trained. You're trained to go to school to be a lawyer, doctor, and then you go out and perform it. But you're never really educated, because you can never, as a black person, a Negro, you can never be educated in a Caucasian system of education. You're going to be trained, but you'll never be educated. And that's where we sit as a people, not only in this country, but around the world. We're not educated because we don't know who we are. We don't know our history, but we're trained very well to do certain jobs and function in this society, but you're not educated. I love that part about it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think one of the, it's kind of like Rick said earlier. I think one of the main problems is like we think the opposite. We act like we're not supposed to learn anything at home, like we don't get an education at home. And one of the examples I like to use, this isn't for everybody, but when you look at examples like Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods' father was educating him. If you look at Venus and Serena, their dad was educating them. The Jacksons, their dads were educating them to do whatever it is that the family, would think was necessary to help build up the group. And that's what they did. And so I think that's an excellent example of that.
I agree. Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
and like he said, we black people are more impressed. Man, I went to Harvard and still don't know nothing. Still can
Exactly.
be of no still can be of no help to the community. That's the thing that I'm seeing that is blowing my mind. We have all this education, but our communities are crumbling. And we're individuals. We can do what we want to do. So, taking that this brother put this out 35 years ago, 30 years ago, I think it speaks volumes to what is happening today. Another thing that he brought up, he said, using white definitions to understand black phenomenon. If you accept my definition of the world, I will rule you. I think that's very important because that's how
I,
most of us.
I'd like to ask you the question: who is this guy by the name of Webster that has all the definitions of all the worlds in the world? Who is he?
I don't know who he is. He could be.
Okay.
He could be William Shakespeare for all I know. He could be
Okay.
King James. I don't know. But with the words that they use, I like to. This is how they communicate to themselves.
Right. Right.
Because we're not even in the picture when they talk to us. We're slaves. Period. That's how they
Right.
talk to us. That's how they treat us. I don't know why we think everything is cool, but that's how they treat us. So I just looked at how they talk to us, and when they talk to us and use words like black, when they use the word black, they use it in a derogatory term. They're talking down to you when you use that word. When they say it, it's like they're slapping you in the face, and we just smile and swallow it like it's cool. But we don't have anything that we've created that we're going to say this is who we are and this is what we're going to do while we have our time on this earth, and and we do it. We're waiting for them to come tell us, like you say, for Webster to come tell us, for Bill Gates to tell. We do very little thinking. And so that's why Mentacide, it covers all of that. And when he says that, if we accept their definitions of the world, they're going to rule us.
And that seems to be true.
Can I be heard?
Of course.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So, this is Joe from DC. I just wanted to make sure that I'm a first-time caller as well. I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding. You said if we wanted to get the rest of the CD, we could go on your website and purchase the rest of the video.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Just make a donation, whatever you want to donate. We're just trying to keep the station going. So whatever you can donate, just, make a donation. Give me your address, and I'll send you a copy out.
Okay, not a problem. And then I wanted to comment on one of the things as far as education. I'm here in Washington, D.C., and we have Howard University, which is one of the first, universities created for African Americans during Reconstruction. And the one thing we always said about Howard students was they're really bougie. They're bourgeoisie. They don't really come in the lower income neighborhoods. When they get their degrees, they pretty much want to go live with the white folks. And that's one of the things I noticed as being an educated brother as well, is that most of the individuals I know that have education, that got trained, they don't stay in a black community. They all move away. So,
Why is that,
that's one
sir?
of the reasons why we are not really in the neighborhoods to take care of the neighborhoods. In my neighborhood, I have 11 churches, and none of the people live in the neighborhood. They come in the neighborhood to go to church because of the property value is cheap, but then they go back to their suburban neighborhoods, take their money, their taxes, their education, their training, and everything goes back to their neighborhoods, and nothing stays in the inner city. I'm one of the few educated brothers that still live in the neighborhood. So that's very rare for a lot of the people here, unless they just more or less grew up and stayed in their parents' house. So that's one of the things that I took away from the call, as well as I feel as though our parents really set us up to fail, meaning that we look for them to educate us about white people and not our parents at home educating us about white people. I feel as though they really just didn't prepare us to be able to deal with white people in the sense of understanding how to control your emotions, learning, when you go outside that, your name means everything. And you are a reflection of your family and your household. And when you walk outside, you need to respect yourself just like you respect the rest of us.
Yes, yes, sir. I agree with you totally. Tell us why. What is the reason? Did you go to Howard yourself, sir?
No, I actually went to Wilberforce University,
Okay.
which is in Ohio, who may not know, which was a part of the Underground Railroad. So it's a very prestigious A&E Catholic school. So I did that for a couple 2 years. Then I went in the military for a couple of years. I was stationed in Italy. I did Bosnia, and then I got my master's. I got my undergrad at University of District of Columbia, and I got my master's from the University of Phoenix. And we just move away. We just don't want to support each other. And so when we get these jobs, I'll give you an example. If I was to work in the government and then I was hosting your radio show, the question would be, am I willing to lose my job? I got a house, I got family, I got kids in college. So in the past, we were willing to sacrifice something. As of right now, I see that my generation and generations going forward, we may not be as willing to sacrifice our good government job to educate each other. So you're asking me to lose my job just to educate black people that may or may not want to listen to what I have to say? It's not worth it. And that's how a lot of people feel.
So is that taught? Is that taught at the university? Because why is that happening?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's like you said, and I think it's interesting. It's like you said, people they go to college, they get the education, but the first thing they do is move away. How is that taught? Is that taught out of them at the university level? Why is that so prevalent in the community? Why does everybody do that?
Because you look down on people that don't. It's just as though,
Yes.
when you see a homeless person on the street and they ask you for $1, you say get a job.
Right.
At every level, you start to look down on the other level. Rich people look down on the middle class look down on the
Wow.
poor, and the poor just look down on other poor people.
Wow.
So that's how you're taught. You're unconsciously taught to look down on everybody else that doesn't have a job. Even when you're dating, what's the first thing a woman may say? If you don't have a job, I'm not going to date you.
Right.
If you don't have this, if you don't have a house, you don't have a car, I'm not going to date you. Not that you're going to stay home and you're going to take care of a brother, you're going to be loyal and faithful. No, you don't have a job.
Right.
So as long as I have a job, I can be dishonest. That's the
Right.
requirement. As long as I have a job and I got money, all the other stuff comes secondary.
Yes. So what you're saying is definite to me, and we're seeing it in full force today throughout the community. Mentacide is running rapid. African American Ain't African Radio. We can be reached at area code 256-849-2227. We can also be reached at AfricanAmericans.org. You can email me with your questions and comments. I'm at info@AfricanAmericanaintAfrican.org. Or you can go on Facebook, and we're in the chat room, African Americans Ain't African. Got a lot of good information in there. We try to bring the history of the Americans, the soul people of America. It's going to take a minute for me to get the term America out my mouth, so I'm trying to, fill myself up with American. We have a few more callers on the line. If any other callers have anything they want to share or bring to the table? Very well. The definitions. When he talked about the definitions that we use on ourselves. I was growing up in a Christian household, and my mother always said that words are power. If you continually say something and say it, if you continuously think it, you'll continuously say it, you'll continually do it, and that'll just become a habit of what you do. And a lot of the words that we use in this Mentacide game that we're playing, almost all the words that we use in describing ourselves, that we use in talking about other people. It's like the brother said earlier, the high class looks down at the middle class, and the middle class look at the low class. So when we use these terms to describe ourselves, when we use them, when we break ourselves into these groups, middle class, the rich, the poor, the Christian, the Muslim, the Moor, the post office worker as opposed to the lawyer and all that, the feminist and the patriarchal, when we break ourselves down, it's like Bobby Wright say, it just leads to total individualism. And as a group of people, we don't have the energy, we don't have the power to just speak what we want into existence, because we're broken down into very tiny particles where immigrants come in between those particles and they set up and we infiltrate around them and take them our money. That's Mentacide. Something else he said, when we think because we believe something is so, and we believe it, just because we think something is so, we believe it. Just because we believe something is supposed to be real, and it's not real, there's no reality in it nowhere. We just believe it's real, and we go with it. The most perfect example I can use in the church is what the brother said, the church, in the community. You have African Americans who really believe that Jesus is coming to save them. That's Mentacide. There has been no inkling that is going to happen. We haven't gotten any word or nothing that this is supposed to happen, and we're watching what is happening to our community. So I wanted to share that Bobby Wright with you, because I think he's very, very important to the community. Mentacide is the definition. Look it up, do your research on it, check out Dr. Bobby Wright. There's not a lot of information on him. The tape I just played tonight is one of the few speaking that you'll hear him say, because he doesn't have a lot of information. He has a couple of books. The psychopathic racial personality is a must. Psychopathic racial personality is a must. And he lets you know that the people we're dealing with, the people who make our definitions up of ourselves, the people who feed us, the people we go to for medicine, the people we go to for knowledge, the people we go to for spiritual ideology, are psychopaths. They're psychopaths. And we follow it, and they lead us on a leash like a dog. And they get us to put the leash on ourselves. So Bobby Wright, Mentacide. What you got to say over there, Rick?
Yeah, I was listening to a couple of things that Bobby Wright was saying earlier, before the show when I was doing a little studying. And there was a couple of things that he said. Now, this was made in 1980, and there was still some things that he said that's so very relevant today, and I just wanted to mention a few. One thing he said was, when other people control your resources, you are a slave. How true is that? Right now, we don't control any of our resources. We get all of our resources from other people. So we don't have any control. So we're slaves.
Well, Rick, why do you think that? Why do you think that's?
Said,
Rick,
we are in a race war and we don't know it. And I believe that too, along with his definition of Mentacide, and that's still going on today. Their objective is the destruction of us. He also mentioned that so-called well, not African Americans, so-called black folks, because there were African Americans hadn't came out in 1980. Said black folks has never been told to think, and that reminded me of something that you were saying earlier about that, and I heard that and I wrote it down. He also said that, now this is in 1980, that we had a gross product of $59 billion in 1980, which was the seventh highest, would have been the seventh in the world, seventh most countries. Only 6 countries had a higher gross product than our people did in 1980. And when you was talking about religion, he mentioned something about that. He said, why do our people think that white folks gave us good religion, but they gave us bad everything else? And when I heard him say that, I had to laugh at that one.
They did that because
And
I think the religious.
The last thing I want to point out was he said that you needed 5 things if you want a revolution. You have to have a military, you have to have the economic, you have to have the education, the political, and the religion, and you have to have control of all of these things. If you're talking about you have a revolution, so
repeat
right
those
now,
again. Repeat those again, Rick.
Either one of those. So anybody out there talking about some revolution, I don't see it.
Repeat those again. The things that you have to have in order to secure your revolution.
You have to have a military, economic, education, political, and religion. And you have to be in control of all of those, not somebody else's.
So you were saying something earlier about, and the caller that was calling from D.C., this is a question that I wanted to ask him, is why. So this is what we're trained to do. We're trained to go help others build their empires. So if that's the case, why is it incumbent? Why do we send our children? Why do we make sure that's what our children are going to do when we know better? Is that part of the mental side? Is that part of the mental side process?
This is Joe from DC. I guess the best way I can answer your question is to say that from the time that you're born, most of us, to the time you die, you are indoctrinated with a philosophy of other individuals. So, we can argue that there are black people in the Bible, but for the most part, people believe that the Bible is white people. So from the time you're born to the time you die, you are indoctrinated under white culture. So you get white culture in school, you get white culture on TV, all you read is white culture, and then when you go to church every day, all you do is study white culture. So
Yes.
why would I not want to be like my God?
Yes.
Well, this probably should change.
Why would I not? I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished.
No. It's not a problem. Oh, so the only thing I was saying is reference to your question. When you're indoctrinated with everything that has to do with European culture, from their finances to their education to their money to their religion, it's all European. If that's what we're indoctrinated with, why would you not want to follow your God, meaning European?
So what's happening around us, what's happening in our communities, we will turn our backs on that for that?
Always.
Yes. D from
Sorry. One of the things, if one of the other books that we can check out is Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of the Black Civilization. And one of the things he talked about and he mentioned was that if you had a sister and I married your sister, that means that I would now be in your family, so that means that I have the opportunity to divide your family, because most people, if I married your sister, she would then support her husband.
Right.
Sometimes over your family. That would then divide your family. So if my mindset was not the same mindset as your family support, so if you was family oriented but I wasn't family oriented, that means I would pull your sister, our kids, our money, and our resources away from the family.
Right.
And that's what we do. We
Yes.
tend to follow other people's religion, culture, economic values. So their values don't support our values. So that's why we don't support each other.
Very, very good point, Joe. D from South Florida, you had something to add?
Well, I was just going to piggyback off of what Joe mentioned about religion and the church, and that you're indoctrinated into this thing, so we're going to follow them. Well, on April of this year, the Vatican came out and denounced the return of Jesus.
Right.
So does that mean that all Christians are going to denounce the return of Jesus and start doing something differently?
I don't think so. I
You
don't
know
think
what
so.
that is? That's the changing of the ages from Pisces into Aquarius. Jesus is a Piscean character, and he has to go. So
Right.
there has to be a new savior. And there,
Right.
I'm not sure if they were, but that's how it sounds to me.
Well,
Well, they sure said that they're giving up this year on the return of Jesus. So I'm just wondering if all the Christians around here will follow that same, path,
I
since
don't
that's who they follow.
I don't think so. Well, now we're 45 minutes into an hour, and we got a new segment on the show. It's called the Boule Bleach Out. So this is our first Boule Bleach Out of the show. We hope you enjoy it. Check this out.
Hey, it's your boy Rick Moon for the Boule Bleach Out. How y'all like my theme music? That was a little P-Funk there. From back in the 70s, the name of the song is Wake Up. And I chose that song because I think that's exactly what we need to do. And in this episode of the Boule Bleach Out, and I will be dedicating each episode of the Boule Bleach Out. This episode is dedicated to the followers of Noble Drew Ali, or the Morris Science Temple of America Incorporated, in which it was established as a religious corporation. And this is something that I picked up from their book called the Morris Science Temple of America booklet. Now, this is their book. This is what it says. The Morris Science Temple of America was established as a religious corporation by filing the Affidavit of Organization Document 10105905, Form 1099, recorded in the Recorder of Deeds office in the county of Cook, state of Illinois, on August 1st, 1928, at 2:52 p.m. At that time, through this affidavit, Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali gave birth to a free national government as an ecclesiastical body politic and corporate under, and I'll talk about that later, the revised statutes of the state of Illinois, Chapter 6, Section 36. It goes on to say later on in this book, the Herd Smith Revised Statutes, chapter 32, and that concerning establishing the Moral Science Temple of America as an ecclesiastical body, politic and corporate. How can any subordinate temple of the Moral Science Temple of America not operate under, that's that word again, the Herd Smith Revised Statutes, chapter 32, section 36? Because this act clearly states, and I ain't going to get into all that, it's a more mumbo-jumbo. But anyway, it ends by saying that any church or society, any congregation, church, or society may adopt a corporate name, and upon filling of the affidavit as hereinafter provided, it shall remain a body politic and corporate by the name so adopted. Now, here's my question. Why did they go through this under the state of Illinois? Why did they have to go through the state of Illinois to become a nation or a nation state? Because they also say that in this same doctrine that they are a nation state, but they had to go under Illinois, and I found that very, very funny, because why would you don't need to go to Illinois to claim that you're a nation state. You should claim that yourself. And and then they mention all of these different rules and sections and stuff like that. I'm like, wow. Why didn't he just say, hey, this mine and let's take it? But anyway, to give you a little bit of information on our good old boy, Nova Jew Ali, he was born in North Carolina, which is my home state. I don't know if I'm saying that proudly or not. But he created the Moral Science Temple, incorporated again under the Illinois Religious Corporation Act 805 ILCS 110. Now, I looked that up, and I found what that act was, and I found it under business organizations. And I found that very peculiar, too, on them being so much of a nation state or whatever, that set up their own governments and make their own rules. I think he's just a pimp myself, to be honest with you. But anyway, his mother and father were influenced by Jamal Uddin Afghani, who was a British espionage expert who used the Scottish Rite Freemasonry to get recruits from the Middle East. Now, these are the people that his parents hung with.
So how was his parents hanging with those people? How was his parents?
Shriners and Islamic Turks. He had two primary teachers, Al-Masri Bey and Deuce Muhammad Ali. And if you look at the spelling of these names, they're not Moorish. They're not Arabic. They're actually Turkish. And but they claim they're Moorish organization. He was also influenced by Helena Blavatsky, who was one of the founding members of the Satanic Church. Where she was the one that was put in charge of trying to create it. And he was very thankful to her from her teaching. And, so these are the people that he was running around with. He also Wali Far Muhammad was a student the guy that created the Nation of Islam, he was a student of Noble Drew Ali. As a matter of fact, a lot of people think he had something to do with Noble Drew Ali's murder. And also, like I was saying earlier, that he had influence by the Shriners and Masons in Islamic Church. This guy was a member of the European Islamic Lodge in Egypt, the European Islamic Shrine in Egypt. Now that's who he was a member of, not anything that had nothing to do with us, so-called black folks. And what these people were teaching him were actually lies that they made up, like the Hiram Abiff story. It's supposed to be about this guy who was killed by three guys, one Jebla, Jeblo, and Jeblon. That's actually a fiction. It's nothing but fiction. And the last couple of little things I want to talk about the Moors is I want to talk a little bit about the word Moor. The word Moor is actually akin to the words Moro and Moros, which are Greek and Spanish, which mean Negro, in which all of these words were derogatory terms that they called the so-called Africans. The Greeks used Moros and the Spanish used Moros. Also, a lot of his, like Morocco actually means Moron Coast. That's not the real name of the state. The name should have been Maghreb, which is Arabic, and Morocco actually is not Arabic. Like I said, it means Moron Coast. Also, there's a place called Basque County. It's between France and Spain. They actually call the Moors Maru, which means creatures in their mythology. So, it's a lot of information on these guys, and I got a whole bunch of more, but of course I got time limits. Wow, this is all crazy to me, and we have a lot of brothers that actually follow this, and most of this stuff is just fake. And with that, I want to say good night and wait for the next episode of the Bootleg Bleach Out, where you don't know who we're going to bleach out next. Good night, y'all.
So when you talk to other brothers about this, the Moorish brothers, about this information that you put out, what is the reaction you get from them?
Wow. Or they'll start calling me names, or I get all kinds of stuff, man.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. In reference to a lot of the information that you put out in reference to masonry, I'll say that it's not fake. What it is it's coded information. And for people who are not educated in the Masonic information, then you don't necessarily get it. It's not fake, but the only thing that I can get you to help you understand is everything that you learn, everything that you study is all African. And the more you understand African history, African religion, African culture, the more you actually understand why the Europeans love Africa so much. And it's a reason why Europeans
want this.
Hello?
But you want this, or you want this, or you want me to go?
Yeah.
I was giving you the information
go ahead, man.
For your own single purpose is that I'm a 32nd degree Mason, I'm a Knight and a Prince. So I've been a Mason for over 15 years now. So I'm giving you the information that a lot of the stuff is just coded, but the more you study, like you was doing, as you study African history, you get into it, but it's all still coded. So what you say is fake is not necessarily fake. It's just that you may not actually know what it means, and brothers just don't choose to share information with you. But I'm sharing it with you to help you understand that a lot of it is for information. It's for you to grow mentally and spiritually. And when you see what the white man has done, they've taken what we created and they've used it against us, and they've used it in bad ways. So
Okay.
that's what it is.
Well,
Uh,
but see, the
Lips.
thing is, that wasn't what I was doing. What I was doing, I was telling you where his information came from and who he got it from. Now, I mean, that's the information that I got, and I checked a lot of it out, and I just didn't go to one source. I went to a few sources, and a lot of that stuff turned out true. And all that stuff that I looked up, I actually looked this stuff up and found it. So I'm only telling you what I found. I'm not telling you I'm talking about where he got his information. Now, where you get yours could be different.
No, I wasn't disagreeing, but you made a comment about Harriman Biff is fake, and I was just only elaborating on that comment, saying that a lot of information is not fake, it's only coded.
Well, as far as the Africa story goes, we hear that all the time. Black man is the first man on the planet. Everybody else come from the black man. Blah blah this and blah blah that. And everybody, the high priest, the priest of all these churches around here, cops, military, everybody who works against our survival on this planet, you can call all of them or whatever to me, because you're being trained to work against us. I don't all that shit that comes out. Let me finish. All that shit that comes out of Africa, and you have China in there now. See, that stuff doesn't help Africa. It doesn't help them. It wipes their people out, kills their land, so other people who are not them can come in and take their resources. The same thing that's happening to us here. Oh, we got brothers that are 99 degree whatever. They don't help us. Their job is to help whoever pays them. And until we understand that, we ain't going nowhere. We look like idiots. We're dying. We're killing ourselves out. And the Moors, the Masons, the Christian priests, the teachers, none of them have came up with nothing to save us yet. So how long do you expect us to keep waiting on that? We can't.
I agree with you.
We need to connect ourselves. Let me finish. We need to connect ourselves back to this land. We need to connect ourselves. Yes. And stop screwing around with all these different ideologies that doesn't do anything for us.
And
so
Africa, there was no such place as Africa back in those days. That's a term that was made up by the Romans. But everybody want to trace everything back to Africa, and there was no such word thousands of years ago.
And that's what Dr. Bobby Wright was saying about these definitions. You didn't call yourself black. You didn't call yourself Moor. You didn't call yourself African. These are terms that they came up with. We take them on like they're our terms, like we do all his ideology. And that's why Dr. Bobby Wright, what he was saying was true. We take on everybody else's definition of stuff. Their definition is to benefit them, not us. And we walking around here acting like we getting over. Nah, brother, we and if it keeps going this way, we won't be here too much longer to express ourselves. If you think I'm bullshitting, ask those ancient Egyptians. They're not here to speak for themselves. So, we're gonna. That's all. Yeah, bro. I'm not trying to be an asshole or nothing, but I'm talking about the reality. Yes, sir.
So to answer your question is that you are correct. I am not disagreeing with you, what you said, as far as what you said. But the ideologies are not different. The ideologies are the same that white supremacists follow. You're correct. They just create different organizations, but they all focus on the same thing: white supremacy. You are correct. As Africans, as blacks or Africans, however you want to call us, whenever we join their organization, you are correct. We unknowingly support white supremacy, and most of
No,
us only
no,
after we get in it,
no,
then
no.
we
You don't.
actually
No,
find out
no,
what's going
no,
on.
no, 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 no,
What?
no. Hell no. Hell no. You
Huh?
don't unknow. You do it knowingly.
Not all of us.
You. No,
A lot of people get in organizations. Hold on, let me. So, is there some people knowingly? Possibly. I'm not saying that everybody don't, but I didn't join anything knowingly, knowing this or that. A lot of information I came upon as I joined organizations. My parents didn't. I didn't have any parents that were Masons. I grew up in the church like most black people in America grew up in the church. I became a Mason when I joined the military. So only after joining certain things
what
did
were
I
you doing?
acquire certain
Okay.
information.
Here it is. Perfect example. You're in the military.
Yes.
In the military, what did you see?
So when I first went in the military, what did I see? I was in a combat arm unit that did a lot of fighting. So most of the blacks that were in my unit that I knew were all Masons. So
Okay.
it was the first club that you met when you was in the military.
Okay. So this is what the military does. Tell me if I'm wrong. The military sends you with the backing of your master, because with all the brothers we got in the military and all the brothers that's been killed in the military, Vietnam on up to today, I don't even want to go back beyond that because we've been smoked since then. But what the military has been to us, for us to try to pretend like it ain't been like that, that's one of our downfalls right there. The military, mate. I mean, come on, man. Come on. And the information has been put out for years. Martin Luther King got his brains blown out because he told you to get out the military. We don't know that?
Only if you grew up in a household where they're educated. So again, growing up in the inner city, I didn't have that education. I didn't get my education until after I went to college, went in the military, and as I have grown. But growing up as a youngster in lower income Washington, D.C., no, that information really wasn't provided. So while I agree with you that some people knowingly do that, most of us, just like I said before, our parents kind of set us up to fail. So you have
Yes.
to learn a lot of stuff the hard way.
You're right. You're right. Well,
So I'm not saying everybody doesn't know it, but I didn't have that. So I'm
yes.
here talking to you now because I'm conscious, because I've got the information, and now I understand what's going on. So yes, I'm here to share it, but I'm not going to say that I grew up knowing it and I know it.
Right, right. Well, we really, 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 really appreciate you sharing, and I know you're sharing it with the brothers in D.C., and I'm sure they're appreciative of you too. Before we close out, somebody else had something they want to say?
I just want to ask one question. As a group, does everyone think this will ever change as long as Europeans, white people, are on this planet? Yes or no?
Yes. I don't
I,
think so. I don't think so.
I do.
Especially as long as they're in charge, and they are in charge, and it's going to be hard to get them off that.
Well,
most of our people are trained to be inferior, so yeah,
well,
I think it is.
I think it'll have to change, because if it don't, I mean, you're going to get to the point where we're eating plastic food now. And it's going to get to the point, if you don't care about your survival on this planet, and I think most people do, it's going to get to the point where enough is enough. Either they're going to come and just spray us all down. Now, if we got that mindset that that's going to happen, then it will happen. But the reality of it is, yes. The reality of it is, if we talking about life and we talking about what are we doing on the planet, if we're supposed to be living like this, I don't think we came to the planet to live like this.
And we're not talking about going and starting to blast people. What we need to do as a people is we need to, like Buck was saying earlier, we need to return to the land, return back to where our grand great 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 and so on parents did, or when they were coming up. That's what we need to return to, and everything else will take care of itself. If you respect life, life is definitely going to respect you. And that's the only way we're going to get out of this. No, we ain't got to go out there and start blasting people, because believe me, it's, I am optimistic that good going to win over evil. So, hey, but I do think that they probably got to go in order for this place to be better.
Can I speak on that?
I think that certain things will change, but I also understand that we can't save all of us. So I think for the most part, with your show, us supporting your show and supporting shows like you, I think that'll just help change things for us. I personally don't think we're going to be able to save everybody, but I think as long as we can put the information out there, people that's willing to come and be educated, they'll come. The rest of us, I agree, they'll get it if they can, and I think we're just going to lose a lot of people in the war like we've lost already. But
Yes, sir.
I think I agree with the last brother, and one of the things that I've tried to do is treat people better. Make sure I speak to people, be cordial, try to support each other, and not badmouth each other.
Yes, sir. Last caller, you had something you want to bring.
Yes, sir. I really want to bring this aspect to the table because I honestly feel like people forget a big chunk of all of this, and this is like, man, we are the spiritual beings, period. Like, you can't eliminate that aspect of it. We are the spiritual beings. It's like people worry about guns and all of this other stuff. What about meditation and finding out who you are and doing what you're supposed to do? That's how we fix that. People they forget about that part of it, eating right, exercise, getting out in the sun because we solar beings and are spiritual and killing demons. Like, how you doing is just people eliminate that aspect of it. You got to get to know yourself. People don't want to meditate. This is what we do as ancient chemists, and what we did as the ancients and the whatever you want to call it, the melanated people. This is what we did. This is what we was masters at. And this is what we need to get back to being masters at, and we can really make a bigger change than trying to beat them at their game.
Well, if the Egyptians did all of that stuff, how come it didn't save them?
Because we was going through a problem. Because really, I feel like we created the white people to really fix a problem inside of us. If we can't beat them now, then we're losing because they came from us, so we got to beat ourselves. Like, they came from our DNA, period. So if we need to beat that problem, because as a whole, that's what we're supposed to do. I feel like that's why we created one. We created a total opposite so we can learn from it, grow from it, and take it back over. But we didn't do it properly, and maybe because we weren't supposed to. But at the end of the day, it's not supposed to go nowhere.
Yeah, I don't think we were supposed to, and we're going to have to pay for that. But anyway, we're coming to the end of the hour, so I want to thank everybody for coming. This was a really good show, and thank you for being and sharing, your information with us. Bobby Wright. Check us out on AfricanAmericanAfrican.org. Make a donation. We'll send the CD out to you. When you get the CD, make some copies and hand them out to people, because that Mentacide is something that we really, really have to understand, especially the youth. So again, for Rick Moon, I'm Buck Wylam. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.